Conclusion is an important part of your speech. As an introduction, conclusion is also key to successful speech. So why? Because your listener, your audience, they always remember your last words. They can not remember whole your speech, but they always remember your last speech because they hear more than any other part of your speech. So if you want your audience to remember your conclusion and be impressed with it, you must strive to conclude your speech very positively and forcefully. And here some aspects that help you to create your conclusion. So the first one is achieve a sense of pleasure. So your audience, they need and they expect your conclusion always. As I said before, and when we are going to conclude our speech, we use phrases. What kind of phrases we use usually? In conclusion, in summary, or I want to end by saying, or what kind? Finally, yes. So we must use these kind of phrases because our audience sometimes they can get confused. What's your conclusion? What's your body of your speech? Because we forget to use these kind of phrases. So these kind of phrases, these kind of phrases signals to your audience that you are going to end your speech, and also exactly these words remind your audience to pay attention to your final words. So don't forget to use these kind of phrases between your body of your speech and also conclusion. And the next one, the second one, make an impact. So good ending always makes last impression on your audience. As I said before, that your audience, listeners, they always remember last thing. They always remember last thing. That's why you need to conclude your conclusion in a meaningful way. For example, after weeks, your listener, your audience, they can forget full your speech or most of your speech, but they will remember your conclusion. For example, make an example. 1 month ago, our one member, Zarina, she gave a speech about her yoga practice, and I clearly remember her conclusion. And I hope that every member who participated at the meeting remember till now her conclusion, because it was really beautiful, short, and clear. She used her body language. She said, she stand like this, and in conclusion she said, inhale the positive, exhale the negative. And it was really best conclusion for me. It's one example. And the next one is take 5 to 10% of the entire speech time. So you should spend most of the time of your speech on the body of your speech. And in conclusion, your conclusion should take only 5 to 10% of your entire speech time. And if your speech takes like 10 minutes, if you are giving 10 minutes speech, your conclusion should be 60 seconds. So if you give 5 or 7 minutes speech, your conclusion must be less than 60 seconds, sorry. And in next, I'm going to speak about closing techniques. Here's some techniques that will help you create strong conclusion. Here's 6 techniques. First one is use a quotation. So used properly, quotation add authority and amuse your listeners and dramatize your speech. So whatever, when you use quote in your conclusion, this quotation should be short and related to your speech topic. For example, if you want to give a speech about, I don't know, about how to save our planet green and clean, you are calling people to take action in this way and to begin with their self. You can use a quote of Mahatma Gandhi, for example: "Be the change you want to see in this world." This kind of. And the next technique is tell a story or anecdote. Telling story or anecdotes, it's always like will memorize your conclusion. So it can be funny, but it should develop quickly, short, and reinforce your message. So now I want make an example again. I know my favorite anecdote. It's not only anecdote for me. It's kind of like meaningful phrase. So listen. Don't be sad when bird craps on a hat. Be happy that dogs cannot fly. So this kind of anecdote or meaningful phrase like an anecdote you can use when you are giving like motivational speech. I don't know, when you want to understand your audience, always be happy and don't giving up. You can use this kind of anecdote. And the next technique is call for action. I like this technique because as a member who is doing my manuals in traditional educational program of Toastmasters, I don't know about pathways, but in traditional educational program, in competent communicator manual, we have like two projects. The last two projects, one is Persuade with Power, and the next one is Inspire Your Audience. And I remember my last project, Inspiring Your Audience. In conclusion, in this conclusion, you need to clearly explain your audience what kind of action they need to take. So in my conclusion in that project, my speech was about topic of my speech was feel the fear but do it anyway. So in conclusion, I told to my audience that doesn't matter you are feeling your fear or not, you need to take your first step, and that's all. And everything will be fine. Just try it, just do it. And the next technique is asking rhetorical questions. Asking rhetorical questions sometimes, because in conclusion, when you ask your audience rhetorical questions, they'll think about the answer. So in conclusion, you can ask your audience these kind of questions. When you're concluding your speech, you can ask, like, can you afford to do this? Or like, can you afford not to? And the next one, refer to the beginning of the speech. Just tie your conclusion to the beginning of your speech. For example, if this my speech, if it will be like only about techniques of how to conclude your speech, I can like For example, in beginning, in introduction, I said that most of excellent speeches they can lose their effectiveness because of the poor conclusion. So, in conclusion, I can say that don't be like that. Don't let you happen don't let this happen to you. And using some of techniques from this presentation. And the next one, summarize your main points. And this one is last technique. Repetition reinforces your message. So, if my speech will be only about techniques, how to conclude your speech, I can repeat all the techniques from the use quotation, tell the story, anecdotes, call for action, and at the end of, in conclusion, I can summarize all the techniques that I presented in my speech. This is summarize your main points that techniques for. So, tips for success and memorize your conclusion. Always memorize the conclusion. Give an impact to your speech and end on time. As I said before, you need to end on time. Most of the time of your speech you need to spend on the body of your speech, not in conclusion. Conclusion, maximum 60 seconds. So, refrain from adding new points. So, refrain from adding new points, it means sometimes we forget to add some points to body of our speech. And in conclusion, we remember that we forgot to add in body of our speech, and we add it in conclusion. So that's why our audience can get confused with that. So don't do that. Don't add new points in conclusion. So in conclusion, I want to say that even excellent speeches loses its effectiveness because of the poor conclusion. So use some techniques and aspects from this presentation and make a lasting impact to your audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aiymgul, for making us learn how